Tonight, there's a story moving through Washington that could affect far more than headlines or political talking points. It could touch something much closer to home: your trust in the system, your family's sense of fairness, and the future decisions that impact your wallet. Because when the Justice Department gets bad news on a case as explosive as the Epstein files, it doesn't just stay inside courtrooms. It ripples outward into the lives of everyday Americans. For years, people across the country have asked the same question: who really knew what? And when? Families sitting around kitchen tables, seniors watching the evening news, workers scrolling through headlines on their lunch breaks. Everyone has felt that uneasy sense that powerful people might play by different rules. And now a new development has landed that could force the Justice Department into a corner. This isn't just about one case or one man. It's about whether the institutions you rely on every day are transparent, accountable, and fair. It's about whether the system works for you the same way it works for the wealthy and well-connected. And as new details begin to surface, the pressure is building fast. Because when the Justice Department gets bad news tied to Epstein files, it raises a dangerous question: what happens next? And more importantly, who pays the price if confidence in the system starts to crumble? Stay with us, because what's unfolding right now could shape investigations, political battles, and even the economic decisions that land directly in your household budget. Why the Epstein files still matter. You might be wondering why a case tied to a disgraced financier from years ago is still dominating headlines. The answer is simple. The Epstein files aren't just documents. They're a symbol of unanswered questions, powerful connections, and a justice system that many Americans believe hasn't told the full story. For your family, this isn't about gossip or celebrity scandals, it's about trust. When major investigations seem incomplete, it sends a message that the system may not protect ordinary people the way it should. And when trust drops, everything else starts to feel unstable, from elections to economic policies to the value of your retirement savings. The Epstein case has long been surrounded by mystery. There were high-profile connections, sealed records, and years of legal battles over what should and shouldn't be released. Each time a new file surfaces, it reignites public anger and suspicion. And every new revelation creates pressure on the Justice Department to explain what it knew and what actions were taken. Now, with this latest development being called bad news for the department, many are asking, did officials miss something? Did they hold back information? Or is this just another legal setback in a long, complicated case? Whatever the answer, one thing is clear: the public is watching. And when Americans start paying attention to a case like this, the political consequences can move fast. The legal blow to the Justice Department. Sources close to the situation say the Justice Department is now facing a serious legal challenge tied directly to the Epstein files. This isn't a minor technical issue. It's the kind of development that can force agencies to change strategy, release information, or even reopen parts of an investigation. For you and your family, this matters because legal decisions at this level shape how justice is applied across the country. When the department loses ground in a high-profile case, it sends a signal, fair or not, that the system may be struggling to maintain control over sensitive investigations. Legal experts say this setback could mean more documents becoming public, more scrutiny on officials, and possibly new political hearings. And that's where things start to affect your daily life. Because every major political battle in Washington has consequences, from tax policies to Social Security decisions to interest rates. If this case spirals into a larger political fight, it could reshape the priorities of lawmakers overnight. And that means the issues that impact your wallet could suddenly take a back seat. Political fallout begins to build. In Washington, bad news for the Justice Department rarely stays quiet. The moment word of this development began circulating, political reactions started pouring in. Lawmakers from both sides of the aisle are now demanding answers, and some are calling for new investigations. For your family, this kind of political storm can have real-world consequences. When Congress becomes consumed by high-profile scandals, other issues often get delayed. Budget negotiations stall. Economic programs slow down, and financial relief measures get pushed further down the agenda. You've seen it before. Big controversies take over the news cycle, and suddenly the policies that could help your household are stuck in limbo. That's why this story isn't just about courtrooms or classified files. It's about the political chain reaction that follows. And right now, that chain reaction is just getting started. Public trust on the line. Trust is one of the most valuable currencies in America. It affects how people vote, how they invest, and how they plan for the future. And cases like this can shake that trust to its core. If Americans begin to believe that powerful figures are shielded from accountability, it changes how people view every major institution. It makes families more cautious with their money. It makes voters more skeptical of new policies. And it creates a sense of instability that can ripple through the economy. That's why this bad news for the Justice Department matters beyond the courtroom. It's about the perception of fairness. And perception in politics and economics can be just as powerful as reality. What could be released? Next. One of the biggest questions right now is what information might come out next. If courts force additional files into the public eye, the consequences could be massive. New names, new connections, new questions. Each new detail could spark fresh investigations, lawsuits, and political battles. And as that pressure builds, the Justice Department may be forced to respond in ways it didn't plan for. For your family, that uncertainty can affect markets, policies, and the overall economic climate. Because when major scandals dominate headlines, investors get nervous, lawmakers shift focus, and financial priorities change. The economic ripple effect. You might be thinking, how does a legal case affect my wallet? The answer lies in how political energy gets redirected. When Washington becomes consumed by scandal, economic legislation often slows down. Relief programs stall, budget fights intensify, and markets react to uncertainty. If this Justice Department setback turns into a full-blown political crisis, it could impact everything from interest rates to government spending decisions. And those decisions directly affect your mortgage, your groceries, and your retirement savings. Pressure. Inside the Justice Department, behind closed doors, this kind of bad news can create intense pressure. Officials may face internal reviews, leadership questions, and demands for transparency. That pressure can lead to sudden announcements, unexpected resignations, or new investigative teams being formed. And each of those moves creates new headlines and new uncertainty. For everyday Americans, that uncertainty can feel exhausting, but it also creates moments where major changes become possible. What happens if more truth comes out? If additional files are released and they contain major revelations, the consequences could reshape political careers overnight. Investigations could expand, hearings could be called, and new legislation could be introduced to address gaps in the system. For your family, that could mean new laws, new financial policies, or shifts in government priorities. And those shifts can either strengthen your financial future or make things more complicated. Right now, the Justice Department is facing what many are calling a serious setback tied to the Epstein files. And while the legal details are still unfolding, one thing is certain: this story isn't over. What happens next could affect political stability, economic decisions, and the policies that shape your daily life. It could influence everything from taxes to benefits to the value of your savings. That's why staying informed isn't just about politics. It's about protecting your future, your family, and your wallet. Because in moments like this, the decisions made in Washington can have real consequences on your kitchen table. So keep your eyes on this story. The next update could change everything. And in times like these, the people who stay informed are the ones who stay prepared.